Welcome to Deep Dive by the Quiet Footnote. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating book. It feels less like your typical music theory text and more like, well, like a brilliant mind just pulling back the curtain on how creativity actually works. In the real world, we're talking about David Byrne's How Music Works. If you've ever wondered why some songs just hit different, or how music adapts and thrives in such wildly different places, then yeah, you're in for a treat. Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is really to explore how Byrne kind of strips away the mystique around music, shows us its often surprising inner workings.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is Byrne isn't putting music on some pedestal like it's this pure, untouchable art form. Instead, he approaches it with this curiosity, almost like an engineer, or maybe a scientist. He wants to understand the greasy gears,
Yeah.
how it actually functions, not just admire it like some abstract gift from the heavens. For him, music is really more like an organism. It's constantly being shaped by its environment, whether that's a room, a culture, technology.
And that leads us right to what I think is his core idea, really revolutionary, which is not saying there's one right way to make music. He's more just marveling at how music finds a way to exist at all and how everything around it shapes it. Think about the difference between Gregorian chants, right? Designed for those huge echoing
Right, the
cathedrals.
sound just floats.
Exactly. And then compare that to, say, punk rock born in tiny, sweaty clubs like CBGB's. You need this raw, direct sound. The space itself kind of demanded it.
That's such a powerful point, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really makes you rethink where music comes from. Like,
Hmm.
how much is some inner essence and how much is just the room, the tech they had,
Yeah.
the social setup. Byrne really digs into that gap, between a romantic ideas, music flowing from the soul,
Yeah.
and the messy reality. Sometimes the sound is just, well, it's because the mic was cheap or the budget was tight or the room sounded weird. It makes you ask, is music universal? Or is it always like deeply local, shaped by right here, right now?
And for me, that realization, that sort of underlying message, it's incredibly liberating. It's like saying you already have everything you need to make art that matters right now, in the mess of your actual life. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions.
Mm.
Byrne basically says, and I'm paraphrasing here, there's no magic recipe. Your music will be shaped by your moment, your place, your people, and that's not a compromise. That's the point.
Mm.
It feels like this huge permission slip to just start.
It's interesting, too, how he's not afraid to challenge those ideas we just accept. He seems to almost enjoy poking holes in our romantic views of music.
Oh, absolutely. He busts some major myths. Let's start with a big one. The myth of the lone genius. You know, that image of the tortured artist alone in a room, waiting for inspiration. Byrne's reality is totally different. Music is messy, it's communal, it's so driven by context. The environment, who you work with, the room size, it all shapes the final thing. Like, he says no song exists outside of its world. Genius needs somewhere to play. It really reframes genius, doesn't it?
It really does, kind of democratizes the whole thing, that lone genius idea.
Mm-hmm.
It almost makes it seem like if you're not that singular visionary, you can't create something important. Byrne pushes us to see the connections, the community, the influences. They're always there.
Exactly. Which leads right into the next myth. Inspiration is everything. We're kind of taught to wait for that lightning bolt moment, but Byrne's reality is much more grounded. Music is built on routine, trying things out, adapting to limits, and just plain hard work. He'd probably say something like happy accidents, wrong notes, failed experiments. That's half the hits right there. It's about showing up, not just waiting.
That's crucial, I think. Takes the pressure off needing perfect inspiration. It's like permission to be imperfect, to mess up, to experiment your way to something interesting.
Okay, then there's the studio as a neutral recorder, the idea that a studio just captures what's there authentically. But Byrne argues studios and tech are far from neutral. They're creative tools. They don't just preserve music, they reshape it, make it something maybe even more inventive than a live performance. His line is basically, recording isn't preservation, it's creation. Don't just document play. It totally changes how you view technology.
And that really empowers artists, doesn't it? To see their tools as, well, part of the band almost. It's not just about finding the perfect room sound. It's about using the tech, the mics, the DWs, the software to sculpt something new. It's an invitation to just play around, manipulate things.
Then there's this other big one. Money pollutes art. This idea that getting involved with contracts or accounting or just the business side somehow taints the pure art.
Right, the selling out idea.
Exactly, but Byrne's reality, understanding the business is just part of being an artist today. Money, handled right, can actually give you creative freedom. He says, contracts and accounting aren't dirty. They're self-defense. It's about protecting your work, your ability to keep going.
That's such a practical, necessary viewpoint,
Hmm.
especially for creatives. Because if you don't understand how your art gets shared, how it sustains you,
Mm.
you're kind of vulnerable, right? It's about empowering yourself to keep making stuff on your own terms.
And finally, the myth that only the experts count. That feeling that music is only for the super trained, the really talented, the people with the
Yeah,
certificates.
the gatekeeping.
Totally. But Burns' view is the opposite, beautifully so. He says amateurs, outsiders, even people who are genuinely naive. They often make the most original, soulful stuff. Raw energy, fresh eyes sometimes, that beats technical skill. He puts it bluntly, not knowing the rules is sometimes the greatest gift. It's all about that beginner's mind.
That's such a freeing thought. Challenges the gatekeepers.
Hmm.
And it reminds you that, yeah, some of the coolest innovations come from people who aren't stuck in the old ways. It's a call to just try things.
So, okay, he dismantles these myths. What does he offer instead? What are these new frameworks?
Hmm.
One of his most powerful ideas is constraints as creative fuel. He doesn't just put up with limits, he celebrates them.
Hmm.
Instead of seeing rules or restrictions as bad, he argues they're often the very things that force new kinds of music, new art forms into existence. Think about punk venues again, or cheap gear. Those limitations spark incredible creativity, maybe more than having endless options would have. It's like an invitation to dance with your limitations. Let them guide you somewhere unexpected.
It's a complete shift in how you look at creative problems, really.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing a small budget as a roadblock, Byrne says, okay, that's the puzzle. How do we solve this?
Yeah.
Those specific limits will lead you to something unique. It makes creating feel more like a game, which is, yeah, super empowering.
And building on that, he talks about the studio as an instrument. We touched on this, but he really reframes studios. They're not just boxes for sound, they're active creative partners. That's where the invention happens. You're not just documenting, you're crafting. The studio itself, the gear, it becomes like another member of the band, influencing the sound, the texture, everything.
Absolutely. It makes the recording process part of writing the song, in a way. Think about all the studio innovations, multi-tracking, effects, sampling. That wasn't just about capturing a performance. It was about creating a new kind of performance, one that could only exist in that manipulated space.
And finally, he really emphasizes the power and necessity of scenes. He pushes back hard against that lone wolf idea. He shows how scenes, these local communities, sometimes driven by shared weirdness or being outsiders, make revolutions happen. Art, he argues, blooms in this fertile, communal chaos.
I like that phrase.
Me too.
Yeah.
His point is, nobody makes a scene alone. You got to find your fellow weirdos and create together.
That's so important. It grounds creativity back in human connection. Innovation rarely happens in a vacuum, right? It's always this mix of shared ideas, feedback, maybe some friendly competition, support within a group. It's about the energy you get from being part of something bigger.
Okay, so thinking about all this, what does it mean for us? Right now, in this world that's changing so incredibly fast, Burns' ideas feel even more relevant today, I think. He really anticipated how his core thesis applies to our digital age. Take the explosion of DIY and home studios. Burns saw this coming, not as a step down in quality, but as the next natural step. We are absolutely living in a golden age of accessible, kind of weird creativity. Like he suggested, every technological leap gives birth to new genres, new scenes. The barriers are just gone, mostly, which means way more diverse voices get heard.
And that ties right back to his constraints as fuel idea, doesn't it? The limits of early home recording gear force people to find new solutions, create totally new sounds that wouldn't have happened in big, fancy studios.
Exactly. And then there's the algorithm as venue. Byrne kind of predicted this way before TikTok or Spotify algorithms were running everything. He saw that the room music adapts to is increasingly digital. And that shapes everything. Song length, you need a hook in like 7 seconds now for short video. Genres mutate super fast. He might say, every playlist is a new cathedral, every For You page a club with its own bouncers. How you hear music directly changes how it's made.
It's fascinating. The environment changes from physical rooms to these invisible digital paths, but the core idea adaptation stays the same. It forces artists to think differently about grabbing attention, about engaging people in these new digital rooms.
And what about the rise of AI in creation? Byrne, with his playful, curious mind, he'd probably be both excited and maybe a little wary about AI tools, AI co-writers, virtual singers. He'd be asking, what new stuff does this unlock? What new genres? But also, crucially, how do we keep the play, the soul, when the machine can jam along? He'd probably ask something like, when the muse is a chatbot, does it dream in major or minor? It forces us to rethink what creativity even is.
It takes his whole greasy gears idea to another level. It's not just tech shaping what humans create, it's tech becoming a co-creator. Byrne would likely tell us to approach it playfully, explore it, see what new things it opens up, rather than just being scared of it.
And finally, think about virtual scenes, real connection, online collaboration, Discord, Zoom, whatever. It's becoming the norm. Byrne would likely see these as the new creative scenes. The physical closeness might be gone, but that shared purpose, that collaborative buzz, it's still there. He'd still say you need to find your tribe, even if they're spread all over the globe. That need for community doesn't go away.
Yeah, we connect this to the bigger picture. Byrne gives us this amazing framework, a way to navigate this kind of wild open sea of making stuff today without losing our creative spirit. He reminds us that as long as the world changes, and it always will, art will keep changing too. And the best thing we can do, he suggests, is to stay curious about the ecosystem you're part of and play with it, not against it.
Okay, let's try and blow this down. Here are 5 key takeaways, core principles from Byrne How Music Works that you can really take and use in your own creative life. 1, context is everything. Really honor that weird, wonderful soup. The place, the time, the tech, the people that gives your art its flavor, it all shapes what you make. 2, constraints fuel creativity. Seriously, limitations are your secret weapon. Don't wait for perfect. Start messy. Boundaries often lead to the most interesting stuff. 3, the studio and every tool is a band member. Your gear, your software, your tools, they're not neutral. They actively shape the outcome. Treat them like creative partners. Play with them. 4, scenes and community matter. Innovation is almost always collective. Find your people. Build your tribe. That shared energy, that chaos, it's vital. 5, money and business aren't dirty words. Understanding the practical side contracts, money, marketing isn't selling out. It's self-defense. It protects your freedom to create.
And if Byrne had to sum it all up in one sentence, it might be something like this. Music isn't a mystical gift from the ether. It's a living conversation between creators, tools, spaces, and communities, each shaping the other in ways both wild and mundane. It's really a call to embrace the whole messy, real process.
So what does this all mean for you? Right now, on your own creative path, it's basically an invitation. Treat your life like a lab. Treat your limits like a muse. Treat your weirdness like your greatest gift. Byrne's book is this wonderfully radical, freeing permission slip. Just make your art right now with what you've got.
And that truly raises an important question
Yeah.
for all of us, I think. How can you embrace the messiness, the unexpected collaborations, the constant change in your own creative work? How can you really let your world shape your song, whatever your song happens to be? Byrne's work, it's both a permission slip and a compass. It encourages you. Let it be wild. Let it be weird. Let it work.